So that's what I'm saying. The text is like an object. It's gonna change perspective based on where you're standing. I don't know.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I missed you, baby sweet. It was a day.
It was a day.
Please tell me you're seeing this too.
From Seattle, we're Drinking the Movies. I'm Taylor Baker.
And I'm Michael Clausen.
How is it, Jen? Tell us.
It's beautiful. Once it hits your lips, it's so good.
What kind of beer?
This is First Impressions. We are drinking a nice IPA from Hellbent. I believe it's a Mountain Drop, perhaps Mountain
Sounds right.
something or other. I did not pay attention quite long enough.
I think we have still managed to not drink the same beer twice. Is that possible?
It's correct.
That is kind of amazing.
Unless you count recording the end of the other episode while drinking the beer that we drank.
No.
Okay.
I don't count that because it's not convenient for what we're
each
going for.
each episode has its own unique beer to start.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
Delicious.
Cheers. You know, our walk to the brewery was on a crisp fall day, and this just fits right in with the weather.
It's kind of got that
Lovely.
sunny tinge to the end of it. It's not quite tangy, but it's like hoppy enough to be acidic in a nice way.
Yeah. Very smooth.
Very fall.
Oh, yeah.
Just
nice.
like all these other beers, somehow. They're all very fall-oriented. We
They're
got a
all
good brewery
appropriate.
here.
Yeah, I agree.
Hellbent Brewing. Certified by us.
We are assuming the sponsorship's just like stuck in the mail. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, weird area code things or zip code things happen when they're like 2 blocks away. You know, you send it, and then they get confused, right? You can just walk it over.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. It's
$1 million check in.
I forgive it.
Yeah.
We'll work it out.
Got to get a business listed address. That might be a problem.
Yeah, could be on us. I guess that's fair.
So this week we're going to be doing First Impressions of In Fabric from Peter Strickland and Destroyer from Karen Kusama. Do you have a preference on which we watch first, Michael?
Let's do Destroyer.
I know your whole story.
Placing our agent undercover should look right enough next to our guy.
If we do this, we accept the consequences. Do you love me?
You know I do.
All right, Michael, we just watched Destroyer. What do you think?
I'm very intrigued. I love Nicole Kidman. Looks like a hell of a performance. Intense. I can't quite tell if it looks like she's a cop undercover or just once was a cop. What sense did you get narratively?
I got that she was at one point an undercover cop and that she could be rejoining the force and going back in and maybe fighting against psyche vows or something to get back in.
Oh, interesting.
You're onto something. I definitely saw that, but they don't really give us clarity.
Yeah.
Nor do they show very much at all of the second listed actress, Tatiana Maslany.
Oh, I didn't even realize she was in it.
One of the reasons why I'm most excited for this, and they barely show her, where she's basically got her teeth bloodied and she's laughing like a lunatic. Classic Orphan Black, Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah, I have not seen Orphan Black, but she was in Stronger too, right?
Yes, she was.
And I heard she was great
from
in
director
that,
David Gordon Green.
Yeah, sounds like she's got lots of ahead of her.
Very talented gal.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by the somewhat of a physical transformation. Doesn't look too heavy-handed. I sort of like the makeup job that it looks like we're getting. It looks like she has perhaps a troubled history, to say the least. She has that kind of defeated, pained
very much
look about her.
It evokes Monster.
Yeah, that
Charlize
definitely
Theron.
came to mind. I was blanking on the name of it. Yeah.
Also thinking about Charlize Theron's film Tully from earlier this year, where they do some really good makeup work to make her look very exhausted.
Yeah, exhausted. That is another word that seems fitting. Don't know that young actress who looked like maybe will be her daughter.
Yes.
But intrigued.
I get the sense that we might be going through a large timeline.
Yeah.
In this film, so I wonder if that daughter character is Tatiana Maslany when we get to the end, because the end of the trailer, she's got the bloody face. Nicole Kidman throws her in a trunk, and in the beginning, she's talking to her at a table. And she says she just wants to do one thing right in this trailer, and I'm thinking maybe that's like not let her daughter ruin her life. because maybe her undercover work led her to fall in love with Sebastian Stan. Sebastian Stan dies, then she's trying to be a single mother who's an undercover cop, which does not work when you're spending 9 months at a time doing something like that. So definitely interested.
And kind of an interesting visual color scheme. When I think about sort of a gritty crime drama, I think of certain colors. I kind of think of like grays, blacks, kind of browns, but those smoke bombs were like kind of like neon purples. Some nice kind of changes of hues that might kind of be some nice visual surprises.
The way that they were landscaping out like the bank and stuff for these moments of the heist, other than when they're giving her rear profile shots, which were very much
you were never really here.
That
totally.
very much evokes that, but that made the landscapes and the more general shots made me think of Hell or High Water.
Yeah, definitely.
And kind of the tone of the rural, rustic bank job.
Yeah. I was thinking like Sicario, even though that's more drug focused. I was thinking gritty crime dramas, but Hell or High Water for sure. Especially kind of because of maybe the locations specifically.
It also got like Den of Thieves vibes for me, but Nicole Kidman picks up an Uzi and starts wasting guys in masks. That's pretty Den of Thieves-ish. So that's Destroyer. Cool. I'm looking forward to it. You're looking forward to it.
Definitely.
She's got a strong chance, from what we've heard, the rumblings out of festivals, to be at least nominated for Best Actress for this performance, and it certainly looks that way. Yeah,
definitely has some of those Oscar bait-like traits, right? The physical transformation, we know the Oscars love those. So, I could see it.
Yeah, Oldman got an award for it last year.
Yeah, so. Charlize Theron, Monster.
Yep. All right,
promising.
Let's hop over to In Fabric from Peter Strickland.
Let's do it.
And may I interest you in other desired supposes in our exclusive boutique?
I'm fine for now, thank you.
Then I would like you to announce your locus of residence, followed by the numbers to your telephone.
Sheila Wallchapel, 16 Ferndale Road, Thames Valley on Thames. 01632 960 786.
All right, Michael. We just watched the trailer for In Fabric from Peter Strickland. What do you think?
I am fascinated. I am very excited. So as I already said, I haven't seen Barbarian Sound Studio, but I did see The Duke of Burgundy. Did you see that one?
Nope.
That is a very strange movie. I don't know if Barbarian Sound Studio was similarly strange, and if that's just
it's
this
certainly
director.
An eerie strangeness, not visually similar to this. Completely because of the hazy eeriness that you get here, but it's more of a super clear visual sound eerie.
Very much a sonic experience.
And character-driven piece.
Yeah, it's been a while since I saw The Duke of Burgundy, but it's very strange, and it was so strange that it's almost kind of hard to remember like the narrative in broad strokes. I just remember like certain moments that were just so weird. And that one's about two women in this lesbian romance, and S&M kind of plays a big role. So to me, this maybe has some kind of sexual tension here in a way. There's something kind of running through it, perhaps about sexuality. That's maybe the only kind of through line I could draw. I'm kind of going off
power
not much
and sexuality here. Maybe.
Yeah. But tonally it also feels kind of Lynchian. To me, like it's kind of like vaguely menacing at the same time that it's very ordinary. I'm intrigued. What do you think?
Ordinary menace is a good way to put that type of a styling.
Yeah.
It looks fascinating.
Yeah.
It's got this general haziness to at least the trailer.
Yeah.
Where you see everything clearly, but you feel like you don't have a clue what's going on visually. This director is very, very good at making the actors affect the atmosphere and the way that a viewer feels, I think. And I definitely got that translation. I was also kind of thinking, it reminded me a bit of this film with Gemma Arterton and Saoirse Ronan called Byzantium. It's a vampire film. Just kind of the the sense of place that this evokes using landscapes where there's like these people that don't seem to matter in this like very auspicious landmark or inhabiting this space. It very much evoked that film for me.
That's interesting. I haven't seen that one.
You know, I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it, but it's one that I think is nice to just have in the pocketbook.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know either of those actresses, but I was captivated by both of them. Just like you said, the performances seem to kind of be tethered to the atmosphere, just like the way that lady, the clerk, was blinking, just slowly
very
blinking.
vampiric, right?
Yeah, totally. Like, you think you know what a clerk looks like, and she looks like that, but she also just looks off.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what we're missing.
Quite off. Yeah. And the like, where were the microphones for the pneumatic tube?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't she say like address the microphone or like address this thing? Like why did she like look at her longingly and act like she was telepathic?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's one of those that seems to like pose more questions than it does give us any answers.
Yeah. I also thought at the end of it, why didn't we pair this one with her smell?
Yeah, really. Those would go nicely together.
Atmosphere.
Cryptic trailers.
Well, should we hop over to our indie festival title, Streamer, from Jared Bratt and Vincent Pun?
Let's do it.
Are you in love?
She has a boyfriend.
Are you sure I can't lose this bikini for you?
I just want you to like me. That's all.
You want to take the lead, or should I?
You want to give us the rundown first on where it's playing in that deal, or save that for after?
We could start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So the film stars Jared Bratt and Tanya Lee. It is a psychodrama, and it's currently in film festival runs and seeking distribution. It could be available soon in digital formats. You can see it Sunday, October 28th, at the Fantastic Horror Film Festival at 11:15 a.m. in San Diego at the UltraStar Mission Valley in Hazard Center, San Diego, obviously. You can also check for screenings near you at streamerfilm.com or follow them on Streamerfilm on Facebook for updates. Jared Bratt, the co-director and star, is currently working on Blue Dream, which is a kind of a noir romantic feature film that he told me about. And then he has a proof of concept for his co-director's film, Sweet Blood, on his Vimeo. And Vincent Pun is the co-director working on Sweet Blood, and that is a I believe it's kind of a genre piece that's a bit of a thriller, kind of a twisting the vampire genre on its head. So that's how you can tune into this, and they should hopefully be wide digitally this year.
Awesome.
So
it's awesome. They're staying busy.
Fingers crossed.
Cool stuff ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, and you said you saw the proof of concept for one of these and thought it looked cool.
Yeah, it looked pretty dang good. So
that's awesome.
A lot of them.
Cheers as we get into it.
All right. So this is very much not a happy film.
No.
Which is perfect for a Halloween episode.
It is. Yeah, tonally fitting, I think.
Yes.
I did find it rather bleak. It's the story of a loner, essentially.
I would definitely
a rather
say
lonely
that based
fellow.
on the YouTube video uploaded at basically the beginning.
Yep. The film starts with a character named Jared doing a video blog of some kind, talking about his struggle to find a girlfriend, his loneliness.
His struggle with virginity.
Yeah. Which he subsequently puts online, and we see him mainly spending his time by himself in his apartment, doing video chats with a webcam girl, with a live, I don't know what the right word is other than just a webcam girl, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of just sort of like the broad construction of the film, I felt like it was just a really tight, kind of clear arc.
Yeah.
Right.
It did not overstay its welcome, which is something that a lot of early directors have a problem with. Like, What Keeps You Alive, that was my problem.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if What Keeps You Alive would have been this short, I think I would have liked it a lot better.
Yeah.
I think that this arc really helps it stay on tone.
Yeah, I want to say this was like
80 minutes.
85 minutes. Oh, okay, yeah, something like that. And that felt just right. And tonally, I thought it was kind of interesting. I mean, I think it sort of is doing two things at once. It's sort of working to, well, maybe we can debate this, but I felt it kind of simultaneously working to elicit my sympathy for Jared at the same time that it's sort of expressing a concern for his for some of his behavior, perhaps.
I absolutely agree. There's no debate to be found.
Yeah.
I think it's illustrated by the two narrative ties running, which is his false pursuit. And I mean, he's honestly pursuing Tanya Lee's character, who I don't remember the name of. I think it's just the girl, is how she's listed in the credits. So I don't know if she has a name. But the way that he's pursuing her, not telling her the truth about what he knows about her at any point in time, and especially until the end when he proceeds to do what he does, which I don't think we should spoil it since it isn't in wide release. It doesn't really serve a purpose.
I agree. And it's, I agree.
So, but the way that capitalizes, I think with the running thread of his mom and his sister trying to talk to him, absolutely show us within the film's atmosphere what you're saying. Yeah. So, like, I think that's absolutely the point.
Yeah. And I think I was really left guessing up until the final scene, just kind of which way the movie is going to come down on how it sort of, and sort of what it makes of Jared the character.
Yes.
And I think it does come down with some clarity. And it's not, it's hard to talk about.
It does come down with some clarity.
Saying too much.
It does.
Yeah.
What do you think about the flashbacks? Or not the flashbacks, sorry. The imagined sequences, rather.
What imagined sequences are you thinking of?
There's some certain sexual sequences that are not really real. Did you ever buy into those?
I think I did. Yeah.
I did too. You tricked me like 4 times.
Yeah, I actually think they did work for me.
Like especially that final like crucial scene on the couch.
Yeah.
Where he's straddled. I really was convinced that this is reality.
Yeah.
And I was so happy.
Yeah.
And then it was not reality.
Yeah. This is why I think the term psychodrama really does feel like the most appropriate word to describe it, is because it does feel like we're very much oscillating between sort of an external perspective and what is going on inside his head.
Or the closest we could get to.
Yeah.
I think that the way that this character is written is very much in a way where like you can kind of get to what this person's got in their head, but you can't really get to the minutia of what they're thinking because of the runtime and those constraints. Like you can't really get deep into it the way that you can with maybe like in Phantom Thread. What's it starts with an A, Alma. I think that we really come to understand what Alma's thinking all the time.
Yeah.
Based on the atmosphere, like if she's inhabiting a space, the way that she's behaving in the space, I think that we get a real clear understanding because she's not what one might say is psychologically problematic.
Yeah, fair
Which
enough.
is Jared's character is psychologically problematic, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and for a movie that's essentially a two-hander, just Jared and what's the actress's name?
Tanya Lee.
Tanya Lee.
And then his co-director is Vincent Pun. So he does have someone helping him.
Yeah. Two just really tightly focused performances. I think I maybe had a little bit of trouble sometimes with those scenes with the boyfriend outside the apartment. Sometimes those exchanges felt just a little forced or something like that, but I do think that was sort of necessary in kind of moving the narrative forward.
Forced or jarring?
Perhaps just a little contrived.
Yeah, I think that's kind of that character. Yeah, as soon as you see that guy's shoes, you know who that guy is.
Yeah.
And I think that it very much suits the way that type of a guy would behave. If that makes sense. But like to me, that type of individual is always a contrived individual that believes in things that are inherently false so that they can preserve their self-image and have, the sexual exchange with someone who isn't actually doing what they're saying they're doing. You know, like
Yeah.
I think that the really interesting layer to this is that she never tells her boyfriend that we know of that she's camgirling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that he's the only one that knows. And then when he tells her how he feels about her, the way that kind of splinters out from the way that she's behaving with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so it's like you have to be like her boyfriend, perhaps, to be with her. And in order to truly love her and treat her right, you can't be with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I do think is true of many people. So
yeah.
I think that it's kind of on the nose there.
Yeah, that makes sense. What else? I like some of the editing. You know, there were a lot of crossfades that just kind of show him, you know, in one position in the room, and then fades into him being elsewhere in the room. It just kind of suggests how much time he spends in that apartment alone.
Yes.
Like the edits are kind of suggesting like this is all we had to show you because this is all he does.
Yep.
So I think that isolation was clearly conveyed.
Yeah, and I mean we do get a sense of what he's doing with his day and how sad it is with the him saying, "Sorry, can you wait a second? We're shooting a movie here," and then you know, it like instantly does a fade to him microwaving his dinner, I think, and sitting down at the dinner table alone, framed against the wall full of films.
Yeah.
So you get the sense that he's like this empty character alone in an inhabited world of inanimate stories. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all these stories have people besides him.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of wonder if there's anything he does when we don't see him on screen. It's maybe just watching all those movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Or perhaps editing his own work.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because that's like when she comes over, that's what he shows her. And I still don't know if some of those moments are real or not when she comes over to watch things or calls him, which I think is good for the tone of the film.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I think that kind of ambiguity rewards a rewatch, for sure, especially when the ending puts things in context.
Yeah. Yeah. And when, I think it's the sister or the mom, like the way that they phrase something like, you need help, is basically what they're saying, but it kind of starts you down this road of like, is what I'm visually seeing or not? Yeah. And those phone calls are usually very simple, but I do think they nicely leave it kind of open-ended as to whether or not he is, it's just tough to talk about without giving away that ending. Yeah.
But what they might be concerned about, I think, is nicely left open-ended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their concerns.
Yeah.
Definitely fit kind of what's in the zeitgeist at the moment.
Yeah, and it's not too heavy-handed, I think, in leading you in any direction. No. These are subtle, short exchanges that pique your curiosity.
Yeah. And I would actually say that some of those moments where we don't know if these phone conversations with the girl or these moments visually depicted with the girl are real are very similar to those moments in Halloween 78 when she's looking out the window at Michael Myers. And sometimes we don't know if he's really there or if she just thinks he's there. Or when I believe there's this scene where they're walking home and she thinks she sees him by a hedgerow.
Yeah.
And then her friend goes up to look and there's no one there.
Yeah.
It's very much of that type of atmospheric styling.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, whether or not it's reality or internal.
Exactly.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Anything else that's coming to mind?
It's hard because we don't want to give it away. So
I know we usually are heading head first into spoilers. Yeah. But, and that would, I think, perhaps open the conversation a little bit. But
with the limited viewings that people have had, I would like to leave it on the table for them to experience.
Yeah, totally.
But when this episode comes out, you will have just over 24 hours to see if you can get to the screening in San Diego at the Fantastic Film Horror Fest. And I think that before they're on, there's going to be a series of short films starting at 9 or 10 a.m. at the same center, perhaps even the same screening, or the same projection room, rather. So
make a day of it.
Definitely look into that. And then they should hopefully have news on distribution or their new films before sometime next year. So
awesome. Looking forward to seeing more from them.
Shall we segue into our streaming title of the week?
Let's do it.
Apostle from Gareth Evans.
Is that why you put these in this order?
Oh, hey.
Nice touch.
Apostle.
Cheers.
The promise of the divine is but an illusion. God is pain. God is suffering. Beware false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
Let us begin.
Awesome. A Netflix original directed by Gareth Evans, right? Whose previous film you saw, The Raid?
Yes. Yeah, I love his other brutal works.
Ah, so similarly violent?
No. Apostle's like a Garfield compared to The Raid.
Oh, really? This is toned down?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I don't know that I want to see The Raid.
The Raid is like a skyscraper of murder.
Whoa.
Like, remember The Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah.
It's like that shootout without the monsters the whole time.
Whoa. Yeah, the violence in Apostles doled out kind of in fewer increments. It's just intense when it happens.
I will say that the Apostle has some more brutal ways of killing.
Yeah.
Because it's so limited in the scope of its kills, there's really not that many kills that actually happen. Yeah. Which you kind of misled me with when we were texting about whether I should watch it at the gym or not.
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest quantity, but intensity, it struck me.
I don't know that I found this to be that intense of a gore film either. Not until the very end when we get the pirouetting skull drill.
Ooh, yeah.
Or when Dan Stevens proceeds to lose part of his left hand. Is it the left hand or the right hand?
In a meat grinder.
Because if it's the right hand,
that's what that is, right?
That makes me think the Peaky Blinders song with the red right hand. But yeah, it's a meat grinder. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Pretty gnarly.
I guess, have you seen Legion at all? Have you seen Dan Stevens' best work, I would say?
I have not. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that's what he was in. No.
Yeah, that's his kind of main thing. And he's, who runs that show? It's the guy that makes Fargo, runs that show. I always want to say Ryan Murphy, but it's not Ryan Murphy. It's not Nick Pizzolatto. Shoot.
One of those big showrunners.
Yeah. Really talented guy, narratively. Real fun. There's this character in Legion called Farouk, who's this...
that's who you were referencing.
Kind of a parasite.
I don't know who Farouk is.
Who's very much like perhaps the girl is in Streamer in some of those moments, and like Mike Myers might be in some of those moments of Halloween 78. He's always in the background, and you never know if he's like just in Dan Stevens' mind in Legion, or if he's really there, or if he's really there in a different way. It's a very complex show, and it's very fun.
Interesting.
So I kind of, when I was watching Apostle, I was also imagining that this was inside of Dan Stevens' head, because Legion is the most powerful telekinetic or telepathic mutant in the X-Men world.
Got it. So Legion, perhaps his best work. You like him there?
Oh, no, it's his best work.
Do you like him in Apostle?
Yeah, I think that he did a good subdued job of what was asked for him. Yeah. I don't think that he's best suited for feature acting after what I've seen with his kind of character work, or rather body work, in Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson. I didn't particularly find it to be that good of a performance. So I don't know that features is the right thing for him. Whatever that thing is that makes like Gosling great in features, I don't think would make Gosling great for a series. And I think that the opposite is true for Stevens, where maybe he's great for series and not so good for features, because his eyes can convey a lot of weight. And I don't know that a feature film has enough time to make those eyes have the weight that they need to have.
Yeah.
Like the scar tissue on the back didn't really work for me until we get to the flashback.
Yeah.
And even then I wasn't that committed to caring.
Yeah. Yeah, I kept just wanting a little more variation from him. I just felt like I kept kind of getting the same facial expression, just kind of that angry, concerned look, which is it was an okay look, but I just kind of wanted just a little bit wider of a range from him. Yeah. This is a pretty crazy experience he has, and I just felt like it deserved perhaps just a wider range of gestures and behaviors and expressions.
Or outrage.
Yeah, or just sheer terror.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that he really helped me enjoy it. So he was kind of a weak spot for me.
I don't think he got in the way of enjoyment. Did he get in the way of your enjoyment?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I really like some moments in this movie, but I think kind of narratively, to me, it was maybe like a little bit of a perspective issue. Like as the stage is set, we're told that he's going to be going into this. He's going to be visiting this village that's inhabited by this pagan cult, essentially, trying to retrieve his kidnapped sister. And I fully expected to kind of be along with him for this entire story. And then we do come to meet like a variety of characters who kind of have just different roles in the narrative. And I feel like it just got a little splintered. Like we start to learn about a young couple with a baby on the way who want to escape the cult. There's kind of this power struggle between the men who run the village. And then there's everything involving sort of the island itself and what it's able to produce as we come to learn.
I think the problem, weirdly, is that this film isn't long enough.
Yeah, which is...
Because I think that the way that you get to everything that you're saying that took away from it, the way that you show all those characters and don't take away from it is by building a relationship with Dan Stevens' character and these characters.
Yeah.
So that our main character is actually illustrating this thing, because it is a fish out of water story.
Yeah.
And instead they throw the fish out of the water and then they proceed to show us what the air looks like instead of focusing on how the fish is reacting to it, which I think is what detracts from it. I think its strongest moments are when its strongest moments when Dan isn't allowing us the segue are when the girls are having their interactions. I was really magnetized by Lucy Boynton's performance.
Yeah.
She's really, really talented. I really was taken with her ability in this film.
Yeah. She was in Sing Street.
Yes.
Yeah, I liked her there, and I liked her quite a bit here.
I didn't remember her from Sing Street. I honestly didn't like Sing Street, so I just kind of...
Oh, come on.
One of those guys. Did not care for Sing Street.
Another episode.
There's not very many of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a great point. Like, we kind of... He's our surrogate, and he goes missing in moments, key moments, that would have sort of tethered us to these other relationships.
But, like, so many key moments.
Yeah,
like
important ones,
every
because
main,
they're key.
Every main event in this film where he's not in the meat grinder, he's missing.
Yeah. It's kind of like our primary narrative and our primary, like, objective is get the sister back.
Yeah.
And how all these other things kind of relate to that kind of gets lost.
Yeah.
A little tangled.
I also question how they go about showing us the fact that there is a deity. Because they present it originally as if there's vampires perhaps outside of the homes. When she comes up to the hole in the floor after he pricks his finger.
Yeah.
She's kind of tonguing at the blood through this hole in the floor, and you're like, is there vampires in this world? What's going on?
Yeah.
I get what you're going for there, and it makes sense narratively. And I think that's my problem with this film, is it makes a lot of sense as a narrative in a book. Yeah. Especially visually, the way that it ends with an ash tree with him lying down in the grass beside it and growing into the ground. Like, this is a classic thing that's been done in many, many books. It made me think about specifically some Brandon Sanderson books. But to do it visually and not be Peter Jackson, you're just going to fuck up, is the best way I can put it. Like, the way that they shot that ash tree coming in, I already knew that that's where the end of the scene was going to be of the film. And that really sucks. Like, when... symbolism's great, but when you're using some of the oldest symbolism, mythologically or narratively or whatever, and you just telegraph it that way, it really takes away from me caring about the story. In the way that I'd like to.
Yeah, I agree. As much as I kind of liked some of those early scenes where we maybe suspect that there is this woman or whatever it is you think she is sort of like haunting the village, you know, I did think there was some of sort of a thrill in those scenes. But when you start to learn like who she actually is and what she means for the island, it's hard to kind of reconcile that back with how she was portrayed to begin with.
Right.
You're like,
how about that end moment when like he just walks up to this crooned figure who's like wearing a cloak?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That did not work. That detracted a lot, and I don't even know how to explain why. But the fact that he just walked up and put his hand on something that's supposedly that powerful.
Yeah. It's tough.
Like, what is the genre of this film? Is another thing. Because it's not a thriller, and it's not a horror.
Folk horror? Something like that?
Yeah.
Period horror?
I guess, but then you're putting it in the company of The Witch, and I don't feel good about that.
I agree. The Witch came to mind, and every time that came to mind, I was like, I don't even want to make that comparison, because that doesn't even feel
but it's like,
fair.
It is true genre-wise, but it's not true filmmaking ability-wise. I don't know. This might be just the problem with attempting to make a period piece for streaming platforms. Maybe you can't do it. I think about Amazon's attempt to make that period show with Christina Ricci, I want to say.
I know which one you're talking about.
Zelda, like the beginning of everything, perhaps.
Yep.
And I don't think it works when you don't have a strong tone for a streaming format. I think that if you're making a historical piece without a really, really strong tone, it won't work.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that's why Spike Lee's show on Netflix works. She's Got to Have It. Yeah. Because of the super strong tone that he built in the feature film. And I think that Prime's Marvelous Mrs. Maisel works because the tone is so strong and so funny, and the characters are so rich that they feel so real that wherever they are has to be real. Yeah. Instead of working from the outside in. And I think that this is an outside in case where I didn't really buy the outside once he gets off the ship. So I couldn't buy into these characters. I was interested in them, but they felt very much like someone had taken Psych 101 and screenwriting, not like they were fully fleshed out characters. Yeah. To really sort of get involved with the men who were sort of leading the village. I just would have needed a better sort of connection between Dan Stevens' character and them. I just felt like these were all sort of like separately existing plot threads. And he technically did that.
Yeah, it's just
because of him saving the assassination.
Yeah.
So like that's why I say this works as a book. Like I understand where it's a book, and I understand where I would say go rewrite this. You need to work on this part of, because there's too many moments in between this act of bravery that is a false act of bravery and this moment of terror where he's all of a sudden being held by the person that he saved. Like you need to establish a deeper relationship with the person past this. He can't just come in, slice his hand, and say we're brothers now, and have that be the last moment you guys spend together, and for that to be the emotional weight an hour later. Yeah, it doesn't stack up. There's something to emotional math, and that's what's really deeply missing in the screenplay. Yeah, or I agree. On the editing bay floor, perhaps. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Even right from the get-go, we are told, essentially that he's received a letter and he needs to go rescue his sister because his dad is essentially in a stupor or something, it looks like. But I never really felt any sort of sibling connection, right? Like, I never really believed that Dan Stevens' character was exasperated by the threat his sister was under.
I agree.
Right? Like,
good point.
That's just silly. You told me that, but I did not feel it.
How about the end when the sister literally tells him, "I thought you were dead"?
Yeah,
like they're telling
very
the whole time.
Unsatisfying. But yeah, like I'm saying all this bad stuff. There were moments I really liked. To be fair, like I think they're all kind of narrative issues. I think the direction was pretty sharp, or I enjoyed it.
I agree. Beautiful lenses again.
Yeah.
Startling landscapes occasionally.
Yeah, totally. I think about the flashback to him, on his mission in Japan.
Ooh, great undershot, spin to overshot against the burning countryside and the cross.
Yeah. The camera starts out upside down, which kind of leads me to think that like maybe I'm going to get a little distance from this act by getting to watch it from upside down, but nope. You're going to watch it straight on as it happens. I thought that was
a slow
effective.
zoom and rotate over too.
Exactly. And then when the young kid gets screwed to the dome, it kind of starts out level and it slowly kind of turns like almost the camera doesn't even want to watch or something. Like, I think these are great moments. I would love to see him just have a better script.
Yeah, he's great when he's got a better script. One thing that I really liked visually was when Dan Stevens and everyone comes in from the ship and they're emerging up from the docks. There is a you don't know this yet, but there is a ship on the other side that is kind of shipwrecked, and its masts are sticking in the air like crosses. But when you're ascending up this hill, it just looks like there's crosses. And you're like, what the fuck? And then he turns over the hill, and it's like the ship is stuck there. Which I thought was really good visual storytelling of like the religion is stuck here. Kind of. So I think visually it communicated everything well. It's whenever they opened their mouths and it wasn't the female characters talking that it really sucked.
Yeah, kind of the connective tissue between all these moments. Didn't kind of bring it together.
I will say the boy was all right.
I agree.
He worked for me.
Yeah. I believed him as he died.
I did too. I believe that he loved that girl, and I believe that girl loved him.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe the strongest emotions that this movie had.
Yeah, I can say that, like, one thing I just felt like I had never seen before was when he's getting screwed or, tied down to the table. And the camera is kind of like...
Tied down or squished down?
Squished down is the right word. And his head's getting squished.
Viced, yeah.
And the camera's kind of, it's his point of view. So you see his head kind of getting jerked upright. And then it's like the camera's behind, like, the surface of his eye. Because that blood kind of spills over the lens.
Yeah.
Ugh, God. I was like, this is... too much.
Very good visual grotesque filmmaking. And I will say, I think the art direction was pretty smart when it involved the deity.
Yeah, totally.
Those moments of naturalism, magic were really, really well done. And I hope that, that's maybe in Bright too. Help maybe this was a testing ground for their visual effects artists for some Bright 2 ideas, because the first Bright really needed stronger art direction, I'll say. Those studio shots that they did were piss poor, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I like the music quite a bit as well. You know me, liking the score.
I feel like I remember some swells, but how was it?
Oh, man, I remember in the scene where he's walking back to his house at night after he's looked through a window and learned that every night people are leaving like a blood sacrifice in a little jar outside their doors.
Yes.
He goes back, he sees that everyone's done that outside their door, and he's walking back to he's taking the blood from somebody else's jar and putting it in his jar, and that's when you see the woman in the distance at the end of the hallway. Really sort of minimalistic score there, where it's just like one string getting plucked. It's like a cowbell or something, and then some sticks getting hit together like a wood clav or clav, isn't that what that's called? Just really simple instrumentation that's kind of percussive, that I thought was quite dread-inducing for that particular moment.
Okay.
And it feels very period appropriate, right? Like these really simple instruments evoking not just the mood, but the period.
Yes. So one thing you just said that leads me to think that maybe you understood this movie a whole lot better than I did very quickly is you just said that he looks through the window and sees them leaving blood sacrifice. Did you know that was a blood sacrifice when you looked in the window with him? Or were you like, why the fuck is this guy cutting his wife?
No. When I saw that, I had no idea what they were doing.
Because I was like, why is he cutting his wife? Why are you standing there while he cuts his wife?
You're like, help her! Only until the next scene where I'm like, okay, this is clearly a thing that they do.
I didn't even know it was blood in the jars until, like, he'd, I think until he'd pricked his finger.
Ah, gotcha.
Because then I was like, oh. Because the color thing, dude, I was like, is this urine in the jars? Is he pouring urine from one jar into another? To, like...
They don't have toilets?
Yeah, like, I didn't understand. Because they don't have toilets.
That would be confusing. True.
So, I
narrative clarity. Problem. So yeah, I thought the score was pretty good. To me, it was sort of like a Johnny Greenwood light kind of score. It's kind of how I was thinking about it.
Yeah. I'd equate Johnny Greenwood with swells, and that's what I remember from this movie is a lot of swells.
Yeah.
I don't remember so much the eerie stuff, but I feel like it had to have been eerie for some of these scenes to stick the way they did. Like when he ducks through the bushes at the end after the father of the boy has been shot by the bag, the guy that has like this, I guess, rucksack on his head the entire film. And he's kind of creeping around in the bushes within the barn. It was very eerie, and I imagine that was very much the score. I just don't remember it the way that I want to.
Yeah. It was just enmeshed in there. Yeah.
Which I think is kind of the best. When a score elevates a film, for me, I don't quite remember it.
Yeah, that happens for me sometimes. But when it does suddenly stand out, and I like what I'm hearing, you know, it's particularly rewarding. So, yeah. I don't know that I have a lot else.
I think I'm good on it. It's a Netflix streaming title. You could watch it anywhere. Probably you should watch it on the 31st, 30th. When's Halloween? 31st.
31st. Yeah. Why not? It's spooky, kind of.
It's gory.
Can agree.
And it's free.
2 gory thumbs up.
What thumbs?
Yep.
Mine got ripped off in the meat shredder. Well, shall we navigate on to Night of the Living Dead from George A. Romero?
Let's do it.
Night of the Living Dead. More shattering than your strangest nightmare.
You love this picture.
I very much enjoyed this movie. You a little less so.
Yeah. As always, listeners are tired of it. Performances. Yeah. These performances work in some of the classics, and they don't work for me in other classics. And this is one of the classics where an oversaturated landscape of overacting does not elevate the film.
Yeah, that's fair. I would not begrudge anybody for having trouble getting over these performances. But for me, it remained quite eerie and creepy and spooky 50 years later.
You didn't laugh?
No, not really. Laugh at the performances or what?
I don't know. The whole thing was just so funny. It just starts out hilarious. This guy's like getting out of the car. He's like, I want candy. Why do we have to drive 2 hours? Oh, he's coming to get you.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to die in the most hilarious way possible.
That is great. I love that the biggest prick is killed off immediately. That is a trope, right? Like the character you want to die dies, and everyone's like, yeah. It's kind of comical. His line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara." It's funny, but I definitely never felt myself laughing at the movie.
So when she's running away, you didn't laugh?
No, that's not what I was thinking.
Yeah, we experienced this movie entirely differently. Whenever she's on the screen, I was holding back laughter and exasperation at just how brutally bullshit her ability to act is.
Yeah.
Not to be mean or cruel, but come on, that was overacting 100%.
Yeah. It's weird. I would not I would not heap great praise on these performances, but they somehow sort of elicit my affection nonetheless because of how they just sort of fit in with this whole kind of DIY aesthetic. I don't think the zombies look like what I now think of as a zombie. They look like people, right?
Yes.
And that's exactly what, to me,
they look like people with some dirt on their teeth.
Yeah. And they, they even say that in the newsreel, right? Like, these look like people, but they will eat you. We have confirmation that they will eat you.
Because of the Venus radiation.
Yeah. It's all so simple and pared down that I just think it still remains so sort of weird. I don't think I would tell anyone to watch this because it's a terrifying movie at all. I don't know that that's really the best barometer of whether or not a horror movie is still good, because horror movies today just have the benefit of all the horror movies that ever came before them, and the benefit of having learned from them what's scary and what's not. But for me, the atmosphere kind of remains kind of thick.
Yeah. What's interesting this week is I don't know that I'd say any of her movies are scary.
I would agree.
And I thought that they were going to be.
There's nothing as scary as, Tony Collette setting Gabriel Byrne on fire.
No. No, there's not.
Not exactly that kind of a horror week.
No. I don't know what it is. I guess I had this idea that horror in my head was scarier than it is. Or we chose really not scary titles.
Yeah.
On accident.
Yeah. And I do value movies that can elicit deep fear in me. But to me, there is just something about this that's just so strange and pared down that I have fun with.
Yeah.
I watch those people meandering about, eating the raw chicken and that kind of thing. To me, it's still
just moving the intestines near their mouth.
Yeah. To me, it is still striking imagery, nonetheless. And whether or not whether or not you think it still has any political resonance now, I think is debatable. But I think it's still striking for its sort of for what it accomplishes on kind of its shoestring budget.
Okay, political resonance. Enlighten me.
Well, I just think of it historically, when it came out, right? Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" It's a metaphor for Vietnam, or it's packed with racial tension, or that kind of thing. So I think you can either kind of watch this movie and sort of try to imagine what it would be like to have watched this in 1968, and kind of measure it in that way, or you just watch it now, take it at face value, and or think about if it has any sort of metaphorical value to you.
I didn't get there.
Yeah.
I didn't really treat the film seriously, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
I will say that I thought that the camera work was great.
Yeah, me too.
The problem was the people that were in the way of the camera.
to that's a problem.
That way. And then I would say the main actor, who is the last person we see at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He worked for me. He was a really good performer, I thought.
Yeah.
But everyone else kind of didn't. And the way that they were presenting the women in hysterics, I don't have a high tolerance or threshold for that. Or
well, I would argue with that. I would say the blonde is in hysterics. Agreed. And she kind of just becomes...
Okay, what about Karen's mom?
She becomes hysterical, but I also think she kind of rolls her eyes at her husband in certain ways that I found
she was fun
satisfying.
when she was interacting in that smartass way.
Yeah.
But once she got into... anytime it devolves into hysterics in that way, I just get really exhausted and kind of want to just shut my eyes and my brain down.
Yeah.
So I won't take that away from you. There are moments where each actor is fine.
Yeah.
But, well, each actor besides Barbara. I don't know. I mean, other than our main actor, I think that the next best is probably Karen.
who just lays there for most of the movie.
Until she's stabbing her mom in the face with a spade.
Yeah, I mean, she gets hysterical once her daughter is trying to murder her. That would be hysterical.
Is that where the term "call a spade is from"?
Could be.
Call a zombie a zombie.
Yeah, I like kind of the establishing sequences in the cemetery beforehand, where you just see that one zombie kind of meandering back and forth. They think it's just a regular guy. To me, that's a standard now, right? That you even get in Halloween of the villain lurking in the background.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, doesn't do much for you. It's fine. I had a lot of affection for it.
It's like, it's fine.
Yeah. I agree. I like
this might be your hold the dark.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of like the score. I think it's all like public domain music, I think, which is, to me, another good example of how it's not what you have, it's how you use it. I thought it was put together quite nicely. And I think it's pretty bleak. To me, it's sort of ironic to watch it now and think to yourself, it doesn't look that hard to beat these zombies, and yet they still manage to fail, and it's partly because they can't work together.
Yeah, I mean, there's 14, 18, 2,000 seasons of The Walking Dead based on this premise.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's an oversaturated genre, because I read The Walking Dead. I watched, just season 1 of The Walking Dead, because I didn't need more after that.
Yeah.
Which, by all accounts, was a good decision. So,
yeah.
I'm glad that it exists and that we get what we get from art out of it. But at what cost? 2,000 seasons of The Walking Dead might be too high a cost to pay.
That's interesting. I mean, some people, respect a movie for having established tropes. And in this case, you're maybe like, I don't like these tropes.
No, I don't like the performances so strongly that I'm just over exaggerating my complaints.
Yeah.
I was just so exhausted with these performances. Like, the overacting took the wind out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. On the other hand, like, if the performances were really great, it's like everything else would need to be better to kind of keep it in sync, right? Like, wouldn't it be kind of weird if the performances were really good and realistic, but then the zombies were what they are?
Well, to me, the zombies are also performers, and that's part of my complaint.
Yeah. So it's
with the
all that.
Overperforming. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I mean, if you take the performers out, I think the direction was great. I think the lighting was very good. I think the score was very good. So I think that the performers for me is the weakest part.
Yeah.
Which is also the thing I'm the most critical on. So take it with a grain of salt. It's still a classic. I still give it a positive review, not a neutral one.
Yeah.
But that's mainly just set design, attention to atmosphere, and direction, and framing.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing, but that's why I give it a 4.
Which means performances just work more against
just
me.
Kind of what we kind of look for, what we value. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot else to say. I know it's brief. But
if there is, you're the one that has something to say about it.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, Get Out kept coming to mind as I was watching this. I had never thought about the word zombie when I was watching Get Out, and the idea of what is done to the victims, for lack of a better word, in Get Out, who, suffer what this family puts them through. To me, they essentially turn into a kind of zombie, despite looking just like everyday people. I think there's sort of this through line between these two movies, and I think if this movie has any lasting significance, it's partly because of how impactful it was at the moment for what people saw as sort of its subtext, and that having to do with racial relations, which to me is just good evidence for believing Get Out could similarly have a lasting impact. In the case of Get Out, race sort of becomes like the text, not the subtext in a way. But I just think there's maybe sort of an interesting comparison to make.
Yeah, I think maybe zombification becomes the subtext of Get Out.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas zombification is maybe the text of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
So they kind of swap. But there's still something there. And I think that without Get Out, we don't get Sorry to Bother You. Sorry to Bother You was completely written independently, simultaneously to Get Out. Just production deliberations held it up, and his work refining it. But like, we simply don't get that without Get Out, which I think is good. Yeah. Even though I didn't like the film, I like that.
You didn't like Get Out?
That it was made.
Oh no, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Gotcha. No, Sorry to Bother You.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Even though like I didn't respond well to it, I'm glad that it got made, and I like that director's work. Like it was good work. It just wasn't my type of film for whatever reason. So I think that we are already seeing exactly what you're saying. And I think I would say the same thing about Romero's influence in the horror genre. I don't know that necessarily the films become the some of the films that we would say were made because of Romero's success were influenced by him so much as independently written and created, and then only had a fiscal opportunity to actually be created because of Romero's success that he found within the zeitgeist of America.
Yeah, proved it could work.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't necessarily want to say like there's a philosophical continuation as much as there's proof of concept that this is fiscally responsible to do for investors.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, and an economic continuation.
Proof of concept.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, tough to argue. We just looked at different things.
Yeah. You loved it. I liked it. Yeah, it's worth seeing. Also,
Easy
a great
enough.
Halloween choice.
Yeah. I thought Karen was spooky.
Yes, Karen is fantastic. Once again, we have a young girl who becomes dead, affecting the outcome of a film.
Yes.
First Man, now Night of the Living Dead. What's next? Bohemian Rhapsody? I doubt it.
Keep your eye out for Karens. But, yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah. I would also recommend that they watch House on the Haunted Hill. I believe it's the 1920s classic.
Nice. Okay.
For Halloween. Just while we're throwing out these Halloween suggestions.
Yeah.
And while we're using the word Halloween, how about we segue to 1978's Halloween?
Oh, I like what you did there.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
All right. The original?
The original.
Halloween.
Directed by John Carpenter. Composed partially by John Carpenter.
Starring Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yep.
Do you like this movie?
I did.
Nice.
I responded well to it because the crowd kind of cued me in on what I didn't know. I'd never seen this film before. At least not in its entirety. I may have seen moments. I've certainly seen excerpts on, either in music videos that are homaging it or in films that are homaging it or on television shows that are showing reference to it.
Yeah. But
I've generally always been a huge coward and just avoided horror films.
You're like, no thanks. Nope.
No.
How about a stand-up comedy special?
How about nope. Do you have any cartoons? Can I get some Fox and the Hound on that, please?
Yeah. So that's maybe a great question. Did it scare you?
It was eerie. It never scared me, but it did make me atmospherically tense.
Nice. Yeah.
How about you?
To put it. Not to the extent that I had hoped. I was slightly underwhelmed. I really went in thinking I was going to love it. I could maybe just start by saying, in sort of like, if I were to rank sort of canonical horror villains in order of like who's most likely to haunt my dreams, Michael Myers might not be towards the top of my list.
Perhaps the person that would haunt your dreams might be the dream haunter, Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger would absolutely be up there.
And then when you wake up, maybe Chucky would be in your face.
Chucky would be up there. Karen might even be higher than Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Karen is very spooky. Michael Myers is just a little clunky or clumsy for my taste. I kind of find his presence to be in this movie to be just a little lacking for me.
So just so you know how it was to watch with an audience in a theater.
Yeah, please. I watched this alone.
Audience.
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching Room.
Yeah.
Meaning they kind of... I don't remember if we ever went more than 5 minutes without complete and total hysteria laughter.
That's fascinating.
But it was just constant laughter.
Yeah.
And anytime Mike Myers is on the screen or anytime someone's about to die, it's just laughter.
Yeah.
So that cued me in that this wasn't... Like, growing up, because it has nostalgic factors and respect as a horror title, I had assumed it was scary.
Yeah.
But it's more of a cultural icon that people see a good time in.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's kind of like Friends. As weird of a comparison as that is, you know?
No,
it's
I
like,
totally see what you're saying.
You get something out of the interactions of these characters, and to them, to the audience that I was with, it was a sitcom. Yeah. And it was just laughter.
Just a deep kind of familiarity or something.
Yeah,
with
as soon as they pull up and the gate is open and the guy gets out of the car, everyone starts shouting, "You fucking idiot!" And then all these people start laughing. And I think that people were like throwing like these little tiny like marshmallow pumpkin candies like at the screen. It was just
rowdy
goofy.
Bunch.
It was just a goofy experience, and I was like, "Oh, this is not the thing that I thought it was." So I think I got to watch the whole thing being cued in to the correct theme. And if I wouldn't have been, and I would have been home on my couch watching it, I think I would have given it a lot closer to your score. Yeah. Maybe a lot lower, honestly.
Yeah, so do you think that laughter stems from people, like, enjoying it in a way that was not intended?
Yes,
like
100%.
This is becoming a more
Absolutely.
like a camp kind of entertainment
So when
form?
she looks out the window and sees Mike Myers, tons of laughter. Yeah. Right? Like, even I was like, oh, shit. But everyone around me was laughing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm the one that doesn't know this cultural context.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I have not had that experience with many movies with many old movies where I've really felt compelled to laugh. Like, I usually just sort of, I kind of shift gears, like, for the period, I feel like. There are exceptions, like, I do laugh when I watch The Room. It's amusing. But it's just interesting. You know, it's a different kind of viewing when you start to kind of view it through the camp lens versus kind of trying to give yourself over to it a little bit. It sounds like people, you know, sort of deliberately distance themselves and are not really thinking about whether or not this is atmospheric.
Yeah, it's not just like a person. It was like everyone.
Yeah.
And what is their largest screening room? Like, it was packed. Yeah. I couldn't believe how many, like, I felt like I was, you know, when you, like, miss a week in school and you come back and something's, like, just totally different? Yeah. It was like that, where I was like, what don't I know? Yeah. I didn't get briefed on this. Yeah. Teacher, I need the homework that I missed.
Yeah, catch me up. Yeah. I could see how it would play very differently in that atmosphere. Yeah. In that crowd. Versus at home. I was
without being cued in, I would have been culturally blind and tonally deaf, and I wouldn't have liked the movie, I think.
So you like it more as you view it through that kind of lens.
Because I started laughing. Yeah. And this was my first time seeing it, and once I knew it was okay to laugh, it was like, oh, now I get it. Like, it unlocked the movie for me.
So maybe Night of the Living Dead with an audience perhaps could have worked.
Yeah, absolutely. With those performances, that's the only way. If there's a whole group of people that can cue me in, like, I need a laugh track for that movie, is how I'll put that. Yeah. And the living laugh track for Halloween, when she gets thrown out of the car and Mike Myers gets in it and starts, like, as soon as I got cued in that, like, that was funny and I started laughing simultaneously with them, I was like, this is gonna be a good ride.
Yeah. I mean, I get that, like, you know, styles change, tech advances, and things can become scarier and more attuned to what we find scary now, and thus, you know, it only you feel just that instinct to laugh sometimes. I still just couldn't help, maybe, you know, just being at home wanting to feel something eerier than what it was. So that was maybe just a little underwhelming for me. But, you know, it sounds like there are many people who find clear themes kind of running through it that they get a lot out of. I didn't really get those, but
did you have a chance to listen to the conversation that Josh Larson and Adam Kempener
afterwards?
had?
Yeah.
What do you think about some of the points that Josh brings up about Jamie Lee Curtis? So before this is a franchise, you know, it is just a singular screenplay, and a singular screenplay is a lot more honest of a singular work that I think you can interpret separately from the continuation. Yeah. Do you think that some of his points about whether or not she's hallucinating this boogeyman character did have any merit? And did kind of enrich your retrospective thinking on the film?
It's kind of hard. It might kind of inform a second viewing. I kind of have trouble retroactively thinking about it that way. To me, it always felt very literal. That he is in fact there, terrorizing them. I never found I never found the filmmaking leading me to believe it was in her head.
I felt like it was very literal, except for in some of the moments with her by herself, or when she's in a group seeing this thing that you know just might not be there then.
Yeah.
Not that he's not real and not really there. Yeah. But maybe she's so scared and these ideas are so powerful that she's seeing them when they're not there. You know, just because a serial killer is real doesn't mean that you listening to a bunch of true crime podcasts and then going and taking a shower in the dark means that shadow is a serial killer.
Yeah.
Is kind of the way that I'd put it.
Your mind starts to maybe be playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay, I could kind of see that.
Yeah,
that
and so I thought that Josh Larson's conversation about how her mind might be playing tricks on her really did play into what, if we are to argue there are deep strengths to this film, that's where I would find it. And I don't know that any of that's true, but I did interpret that could be true.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're kind of talking about it out loud, I mean, I guess I'm kind of thinking back to specifics where she looks, he's there, she looks again, he's not there. Those might be just quick enough that you could read it as her, you know, having, you know, just her eyes were playing tricks on her somehow. Yeah, so I could kind of see that. You know, he was also kind of talking about the theme of a fear of sex kind of running through this or something like that.
The bad girl, good girl.
Yeah. It certainly didn't really cross my mind when I was watching it. Me
neither.
I would not profess to have thought about that at all. It's super interesting. So, you know, maybe, which is funny because he watched it a second time. He didn't like it the first time, right? And he came back and liked it. So maybe on second go around when these are kind of in my head, I might sort of see the filmmaking suggesting these, but I kind of have a hard time reconciling that theme with what the exposition tells us about Michael. You know, the doctor talks about him, you know, on one hand maybe being just a deranged killer or just evil incarnate. Like, he might just be the essence of evil, which to me sounds like a very sort of broad, discriminate kind of force.
And that worked for me a lot and was kind of overpowering to my image of Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And I would say is the reason why I absolutely hated the imagery.
The imagery?
No. Not the imagery. The idea that Mike Myers could be evil incarnate.
Yeah.
That is such a powerful idea that I really grappled onto with the first interpretation.
Yeah.
I really liked that, and I thought that was very fitting.
Yeah.
And the way that 2018 depicts Michael.
Yeah.
And how we get that ending is why I would feel comfortable saying I hated the movie.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, to me there's sort of a specificity about that theme, that he is sort of the punisher of promiscuity, that I have trouble reconciling with how broadly his villainy is characterized. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's just he's going around and murdering people for no reason at all.
Yeah.
And then we're making this claim that it's all so that he, like, it's a decent claim. The claim is that he's killing anything in his way and anything that he can until he gets to his end goal.
Yeah.
You know, this is a classic thing for, you know, historical dictators or evil characters of works of fiction or true historical characters. You know, you kill anything in your way and you're always on a goal to a path of some sort of continuation or closure. And the idea that his purpose is to kill the Girl Scout, Jamie Lee Curtis, is a fine idea, and that he's killing everything in between. But I guess that's the problem. It's a fine idea. It doesn't hold up for me.
Yeah, I agree.
On further reflection of the presentation of the tone of the film. Or the voice of the film.
Yeah.
Rather.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of forgot what my next thought was. Got anything else on the top of your head? It'll come back to me.
Oh yeah, so I wanted to focus on the beginning of the film.
Ah, okay.
The Hitchcockian, De Palmian exposition of the film.
Yeah.
First scene, basically. What do you think about that?
The POV shot.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
I was drooling.
Okay,
it
good.
was amazing.
I was
so
almost
good.
hesitant. Your tone maybe suggested you weren't into it, and I was like, I liked it.
No, I liked it a lot.
Okay, good.
You know me and my POVs. I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite
To me, it's one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah. No doubt. I think it's probably the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, I almost could have gone for some more POV throughout the movie.
100% agree. The problem is that Mike Myers. I think that if he was a POV character in the film, that wouldn't work.
I agree. I kind of want it, but I think
film,
you're right. Yeah.
Like, I think that there needs to be a film called, like, Myers or Mike Myers or something, where it's just him murdering people.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that you could have a narrative story told POV the entire time. I think that the introduction was the right thing to do, though.
We do kind of hew towards Jamie Lee Curtis's perspective. That would be sort of a departure.
Yeah.
Even if you kind of want it.
Yeah. Or, like, I guess you could do it when he's chasing her specifically.
Yeah.
So, like, we would see POV of her.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and sometimes I'm just not sure what to make of, like, his psyche and, like, his intelligence. Like, it's
what
sort of this...
psyche? What intelligence?
Well, right. Like,
right?
I know that
He's
sounds like a silly
incarnate.
question, right? But it's like, just to what extent he's sort of, like, conscious or intelligent or forward thinking at all. There's some, this sounds so silly, but just being able to reconcile him as sort of just this pure physical force driven to kill, who also can drive a car and put a bedsheet over him. I don't know why. Like, I just have trouble sort of putting these together.
Well, he doesn't put a bedsheet in the first movie, right?
Yeah. He puts it over himself in the first one.
Does he?
With the glasses. It's just before he kills the girl in bed.
Right.
Which,
that's right.
To me, it kind of implies, like, forethought.
Is that the gravestone kill?
Just before that, exactly. Yeah, okay. After he does that, he puts the gravestone out.
So it is the gravestone kill.
Yeah. It implies forward thinking, and he's scarier to me.
He seems very improvisational to me.
Yeah, but I have a hard time just picturing him, like, getting in the car, turning on the keys. You know, he's scarier to me as just an unthinking force driven to kill.
Yes.
Rather than one who toys with people, I guess.
Yes. Once again, Film Spotting brought up It Follows.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is very much influenced by this film and very much better than this film.
Totally.
Even though I liked this first one quite a bit, I think It Follows is really something special.
I agree.
And the GoPro camera shots when she's in the wheelchair in It Follows, I kind of am leaning towards maybe a purposeful homage correlation to the opening of Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, makes me want to rewatch that. Especially with Halloween in my mind still. I think those same themes resonate more clearly in It Follows about a fear of sex or anxiety about it.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, because it's literally a sexually transmitted demon.
Yeah. I think it's much easier to attach that theme to what actually transpires.
STD just got a whole new demon.
Yeah. Scary shit. Yeah. Do you want to segue to the next one?
Let's at least address. You're very good with sounds and with framing and direction.
Yeah.
You have not addressed George Romero, or not George Romero, John Carpenter's direction or music yet.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you would say?
Yeah, I mean, I did sort of enjoy some of those long tracking shots that we get. I think they're especially early on as Jamie Lee Curtis is sort of walking throughout the neighborhood and he's starting to stalk her. But they almost just weren't quite as impactful as I thought they might be. When I think about tracking shots in like film criticism, I feel like it's the kind of technique that's only ever praised rather than criticized. I don't know that those were actually critical to building tension in this. But I don't know. To me, it's sort of like a question mark. I kind of enjoyed them, but I don't know that I would heap the praise on them in what they do for the film, like tracking shots do in certain other films. And I like the framing where he's, quite often that lurking figure in certain scenes. But it's also just his image that just doesn't really captivate me. That kind of hurts.
Okay.
Regardless of how it's framed.
It worked for me.
Okay.
I would classify it as depth of frame manipulation, where we are kind of present with the character in the foreground.
Yeah.
And in the background, it's blurry, and there's no one there. Yeah. And that's almost more perturbing than if he were there, because then you'd know where he was.
Where is he? Yeah.
So I'm scanning the whole time, looking, where is he? Where is he? Every scene, where is he? Where is he?
Keeps you
that
looking.
style of depth of framework for a villainous character kept me really entertained as an audience member.
Yeah.
I was always like, where is he? Because I wanted to know when we were going to laugh, kind of. Instead of like trying to be scared, I was like, where's the object of laughter?
Yeah, keeps you involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, gives you a way to participate. Yeah, I agree.
And then I know that we're going to talk about the new stylings of the theme of Halloween in 2018 based on your review for that one. But what do you think about the original theme of 78?
I love the piano riff, the iconic Halloween piano riff. As we'll talk about, I kind of prefer the variation on it that we get in the 2018 version. I thought the repetitiousness of it here, this sounds like sacrilegious to say about this iconic score, but I just found it having diminishing returns. Like I kept wanting it to just surprise me. That's kind of one downside to having a really great riff is you can't overuse it. You kind of have to dole it out at the right times. Maybe it's just lingering that way in my head if I go back and actually kind of pay attention to how often it's played. Maybe I'd take that back. But I remember thinking to myself, like, you got to be a little more sparing with it somehow.
So I disagree in a way that I think that you're totally valid.
Yeah.
But the reason why I disagree is because I think that he was using it in spots where he didn't need to use it. But that's what fucked with my head. Because I was like, the theme's playing, but Mike's not here.
Like, why is that playing? Why is
the theme play? It's like when the enemy music comes on when you're playing a video game and you don't know where the enemy is. Like, why the fuck is this music playing?
That's interesting.
It was like that where I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then the theme music would play and Mike Myers wouldn't be there. And then, like, you turn around 90 degrees and he's right there. And you're like, fuck.
Yeah, the music's just a step ahead of the action.
Yeah, or it's kind of a separate character. Like, you're kind of like fencing with it. Like, am I gonna land a blow here? Like, is there something here, or am I gonna hit air?
Yeah,
and I think that you'd equally hit something solid like Mike Myers in the depth of frame as often as you see nothing in the depth of frame.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go back and see occasions where we maybe get the music and it's a sort of a false start.
Yeah, I also think maybe it was cueing. I think that perhaps the music plays when they're making plans for like to have sex and go stay at that house and have the boy or the girl that she's babysitting go stay with, or maybe it was a boy that she was babysitting and go be with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, I think that some of the setup moments were where the music was playing. Yeah. And I was like, why is this playing? And so I think the payoff might actually be there in a second rewatch when I understand the context of what the leading is to.
That's fair. That could totally improve it for me on second viewing if I pay attention to the sequencing of it rather than just its occurrence.
Yes.
Regardless of whether it's varied or not. That's cool. I like it.
All right. That's as much as I wanted to pull out of you and push out myself.
It'll roll into the next one nicely.
So let's get to Halloween 2018 and get some refills.
Let's do it.
He's waited for this night. He's waited for me. I've waited for him.
Get out the room! Get inside!
You don't believe in the boogeyman?
He's here!
Michael! You should.
Can you close the closet door?
Cheers.
Cheers. Halloween 2018.
Directed by David Gordon Green.
That's the best thing you could say about it.
Starring Jamie Lee Curtis. Once again. I don't think I could name anybody else in this movie.
Judy Greer.
Yes, I could.
She's great.
Oh, you liked her? Cool.
Yes. She worked for me quite a bit. She always works for me.
Yeah.
She's arguably the funniest character in Arrested Development, which is a show full of funniest characters, but she really stands out.
Yeah. I liked her in this one. Exasperation is maybe with her mother is what I often got from her.
Mm-hmm. I'd say she's like one of the only characters that's believable.
Interesting. So we'll start with some characters, perhaps. Judy Greer, thumbs up. Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie,
9.
Not so much.
No.
Just didn't buy it. Not good.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It did not work for me at all. It felt like it was telegraphing acting. I don't know if that makes sense much to the listeners. It's kind of like she was doing an impersonation of how she thought a character she had once portrayed would continue to behave. It was kind of an overthought, under-executed performance. But the film does make me think that there's a lot on the cutting room floor, so I don't want to be super unfair.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say her performance here as this character does not work for me. Whereas her performances in Scream Queens, I think it's a Fox or NBC show with Emma Roberts, absolutely worked for me. So it's not that she doesn't work as a performer, it's that this character in this rendition of this screenplay with its psychological focus and its weird podcast characters exposition just didn't tonally fit the into a horror movie. And it doesn't necessarily stack up to be a comedic classic. Did you see this with a sold out crowd?
It was a packed house. Yes.
Yeah, as did I. Did anyone make noise at yours?
They did. So we sort of had reverse experiences with our 2 Halloweens. My crowd, it was as if they had never seen a horror movie because people were yelling like, "Don't go in there! Get the knife!" I was like, have you never seen a slasher movie? People were loving it, which is interesting because you had the total opposite experience.
Nobody made a peep.
Yeah.
Nobody clapped.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We all silently got up and walked out.
Yeah. Which theater?
The Dolby Digital Theater in the Linwood Mall. Or Alderwood Mall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Linwood, Alderwood, same idea.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. My crowd was into it, so, that always plays a factor. And I
can also tell you no one got scared. I was watching the crowd because that's what I do when I'm worried about the fact that I might get scared. I stop looking at the screen with complete attention and I start kind of scanning the crowd at the same time.
Yeah.
Makes me a little bit less of a pussy.
Yeah. I think I definitely felt fear in my audience, and I think even more often than fear, just heard gasps at some of the violence, and some of the and in particular moments, him dropping the teeth over the bathroom stall, him
who hadn't seen that 38 times in trailers,
right? Yeah, I agree. I did kind of think to myself, I'm like, guys, this isn't new stuff.
Yeah, this is
I was a little surprised.
Yeah.
But I still found many moments that I enjoyed. I found this to have more tension. I thought than I think you did. I thought it was. I thought the direction was just fine.
I agree that the directing was better than fine, though.
Yeah.
I guess I disagree. I think the directing was good.
And one up each other.
I like David Gordon Green's directing.
Well, I don't like Jamie Lee Curtis. Fair enough. So, direction we're both probably okay with. You more like so.
Yeah. I think I have a unique understanding of Gordon Green's stylings and his adaptability. And he strikes me as one of those guys that can really just hop into any sort of a commercial production and turn out at least a decent product.
Yeah.
And I really like his staggering close-ups with the saturated depth of frame. Yeah. So you get the super clean look of clarity normally on a close-up of a face with him. And then in the depth of the background, you still understand what's there, but it's kind of fuzzy, and it gives you the atmosphere of the scene, but it brings your attention to the performer. And I think that the problem is that style is good, but these performers were mostly not good, or rather the dialogue they were performing wasn't. Because I think the screenplay was fine. It was the dialogue that kind of, in the fact that they went to the school or interacted with the high school characters at all, really detracted from it. Whereas the high school characters in the first one worked because they were treated as adults. This was like if Superbad was written poorly and also included in Halloween.
Yeah. Not nearly as funny.
Exactly. Exactly. But like that tone of these cheesy, weird characters that are happen to be high schoolers.
Yeah. I mean, I will confess that there were more than a few moments where I was laughing, and I felt like I was laughing with the film rather than at it. Okay. I thought the kid was funny, who the blonde girl babysits.
Yeah, I think I was laughing when he was screaming for her.
Yeah.
While he was getting murdered.
Yeah. I would. On the topic of Michael Myers, I found him more intimidating here. I thought the mask looked better. I liked its sort of weathered, aged look. I liked the moment where he put it on. I was with it.
I think that was earned. Once again, that's back to direction. Like the way that Gordon Green is allowing these close-ups to show the moments of him putting the mask on. That type of thing. That's what worked.
Yeah.
It's the idea that Mike Myers is this giant, lumbering oaf that somehow outpaced the young granddaughter of Jamie Lee Curtis's character in getting to her friend. Right? Like, he had enough time to murder the friend, lift the friend, and impale him on the gate. And by the time she sprints back, because she's running when we cut to, he's gone. But he's gone so quickly, but also so invisibly. The light didn't turn back on. No. Just
that's fair.
No.
Continuity.
Yeah, and there were a few continuity errors in this. I don't know if you noticed them. Did you?
You were much more attuned to continuity errors.
So the first moment, the new I don't want to say pneumatic, but I guess not pneumatic. What's the proper term here? It's the powered island that rotates. I can't think of what. I guess automated
the kitchen island
rotation island. So the first rotation of it opens and she's looking down at this closed surface. Cut to an upshot of an open surface up these stairs of Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, what did the editor do?
Groan.
Because I know David Gordon Green shot enough for that whole... I know that he shot enough for everything to work. Because this style of these hyper close-up, shallow surface depth of frame fuzzies is exactly what he used in Stronger with like Tatiana Maslany and Jake Gyllenhaal. So this is something familiar of a styling for him, and I think Danny McBride gave him a good arc of a story.
Yeah.
But somewhere someone got a hold of the dialogue and totally compromised the movie, and then the editor undercut what was artistically present.
Slashed it up.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a decent film somehow with this, and I don't think that we got that. And I don't understand maybe where you're getting the overall sense of pleasure from it. Is it from all the side characters, or is it from the arc of the narrative?
I would say it's kind of two things. It's individual moments here and there that I thought were particularly engrossing.
Perhaps like when he goes and gets the hammer and commits that murder. It's kind of that classic POV again.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Where we're aligned with his perspective.
Great moment.
Yeah. I can't say I was thinking about some of that editing up until he impales the guy on the fence. I thought that was a decently staged little kill. I didn't
agree
mind
it was
that
a good
moment.
Kill. It's just the fact that he's not there. It compromises him as a creature of horror.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because he's this lumbering oaf who is unstoppable. Like, he's either this unstoppable force or he's this immovable object, right?
Yeah.
And the narrative is that he's this slow lumbering murderer with the knife. Mm-hmm. Or with knives, rather. And if he is slow moving, okay, she would have seen him. But if he moves fast, he would have triggered the light alarm.
Maybe he just went the other way. Maybe he went along the side of the house.
No, because if he moved along the side of the house, he would have gone towards the light that has the sensor. So
yeah. There are particulars that I wasn't attuned to in the moment. I was just sort of amused with the kid who's hoping for romance only to get shat on and then killed. To me, it's a very simple, small little arc within that moment. Like I said, I was amused by the kid who was babysat. I thought there were...
Oh, yeah. I don't think you did say it, but that's a great scene.
Yeah, I thought he was super funny.
Hilarious.
Just after he picks up the hammer and takes out the motherly, matronly character, he goes into another house and
after he's picked up the knife,
takes out another seemingly random woman kind of from behind. People were into these moments. People were sort of gasping and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, I think that those moments were good. The thing is, I think those moments take place in the first quarter of the film.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's any of those good moments that are like that after this.
Yeah.
I think it kind of starts, I would say, the good directing moments, really like strong moments of cinema, start in the psychological facility, I want to say. When they're kind of on those chess squares.
Yeah, and I could not decide what to make of that scene, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was strong visually, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that it proceeds in those moments of brutality that are untethered brutality. And then as soon as it becomes tethered more, do you think it kind of removes itself from this great cinematic moments?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a strong opening, and I kind of thought the same thing about it looking something like a game board, a chessboard. And I would agree. To me, the shots of some of the other patients sort of works with this sort of fear of the other that you get in a lot of horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that it didn't really follow through on.
Agreed.
It's weird how it feels like the Michael Myers character sort of offers up the opportunity to exploit that fear, and it hints at it here, and then it doesn't do anything with it, which is kind of odd. But I agree that I like that scene. It just I was surprised by it.
Once again, I think it's Danny McBride's screenplay that's strong, but somehow it's either lost on the editing bay floor or the whoever did the dialogue rewrites or added these characters kind of undercut what's a strong story, because I don't think you have a weaker film without the high school moments.
I agree. I thought the boyfriend character made very little sense to me, who sort of jarringly makes out with some other girl and turns out to kind of be a dick. It felt very narratively convenient to just have him suddenly.
She doesn't have a phone now.
Yeah, it was
okay.
I was kind of groaning. I was like, this seems a little silly to have that sharp of a change in character. Yeah. But performance-wise, I gravitated towards her. I liked her. You not so much? Just
I don't think
you couldn't get past the dialogue, anyways.
I don't think that she was able to interact in enough mature situations for me to fully comprehend her ability, just as a performer. And I would say, so far as a character in the film, she's fine. She's not great though because of the narrative constraints of her interactions with these peers of hers that totally suck.
Yep.
In this screenplay, not as performers, but just what they're asked to do. And I think that moments where the boyfriend is present are particularly what I would point to as the weakest moments of the film. Like that dinner scene sucks. It's terrible. That's where Jamie Lee Curtis is at her worst. Not as like a character, but as a performer. Like that was just bad. It was like overacting. It was like Night of the Living Dead again.
Yeah. Well, I would almost maybe like forgive her and maybe just run with your point that like had they just sort of committed to a more clear sort of evolution of her character, some of those moments might have worked better. But when you sort of see her on one hand as this tough, ready to fight badass, versus the depressed, closed off victim. I agree. It's maybe sort of hard to reconcile. So when you get one and then the other, they both sort of look wrong. But I could see how if you just stuck to one or the other, like I don't know that I had a problem with her. It was just more sort of how non-committal it was to who she is now.
The only thing that I could say is there might be transitory moments, once again, on the editing bay floor that allowed the transition to take place. But if I were to go back and just show you that one dinner scene where she has an emotional breakdown and clutches the sides of her face like this and begins sobbing like a 4-year-old, I don't think that you would say that that's good acting. You might be able to forgive it within the character, but I just because my acting concentration, maybe when I'm watching... Yeah, I think that anyone, if you were just to look at it, could see that, number one, it doesn't fit the Girl Scout character that she started in 78, and number two, it's just not a good part of the performing repertoire that we've seen from her. She's able to have emotions much more effectively than that.
Yeah.
And a subdued, hyperventilating breakdown would have been a lot better than clutching the sides of her face and acting like a small child, beginning to sob and weep openly. Because that kind of signals that she doesn't have any sense of understanding of where she is in the world socially, and I don't buy into that for this character. This character seems much too attuned. You know, you can't not die and be attuned to your surroundings and also act out like a small child.
Yeah. I would agree that the performance didn't do much for me, but sort of like narratively, it was easy enough for me to just buy into her as someone whose behavior is sort of a function of her having been traumatized. Yes. And that's where some of this bizarre behavior might sort of come from.
Yeah, no, I think the traumatized behavior thing is super important because that's what leads to the relationship with the granddaughter and her chasing her outside the restaurant. I think that's a crucial screenplay moment. I think that the decision to have the breakdown as if she's a small child, clutching the sides of her face like this,
doesn't infantilize or something.
Yeah, it doesn't work in the way that a hyperventilating shame breakdown works.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because if she were to have this breakdown because of her emotions for her daughter and her care, but also because of a sense of shame, it would be more of a hyperventilating breakdown, which I think she could pull off better and would really kind of ground the film. And I think that that's what this comes down to. There's no grounding to the film outside of what Gordon Green is doing with his camera.
Yeah, I think the ground that I did find was in the film being one about a need for closure, which I think is perhaps generous, but I think that idea was enough for me to run with it and enjoy it for what it was. I was able to accept her as a character traumatized by what happened 50 years ago, assuming this is taking place in 2018. And despite him being locked away, is having trouble moving on. And I felt a payoff when Michael Myers does die in the end, spoiler alert, for her. And her being able to finally move on. I will concede this is generous, and that is why this is in no way a great film, but was enough for me to enjoy myself.
I will absolutely agree. You are being generous.
Ooh.
The ending did not work for me.
No.
It did in the beginning, and then the claim that this was a trap the whole time, and that Judy Greer was down there acting as if she was bait, and that this was part of the plan the whole time for her to go lock these rooms after she clears them, get thrown out the door, and then come in and hide. I don't buy that for a second. I did not buy that for a second. It's once again a great screenplay premise, just like Apostle is a great screenplay premise.
Yeah.
But the thing is, narrative transitions don't work in visual mediums. And I think that while that would work narratively because you have the tone of eeriness and of creepiness as you could follow your main character, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, traipsing around and believe that she's truly this invincible character. That doesn't work in a visual medium where you're seeing her get beaten and battered. And the idea that somehow Judy Greer or the idea that they knew accidentally that the granddaughter would be coming in to make a sound to distract Mike Myers so that she could get away.
It's a little far-fetched.
To say it's far-fetched is kind.
That's fair.
You know.
I think it's maybe a credit to Green's direction that he could distract me enough with his direction to transcend the screenplay.
Agreed.
I wasn't even... I sort of... I wasn't even paying attention to some of these, the ridiculousness of some of it, because I just felt that him knowing where to put the camera, when to start the music, what that music was enough for me to just feel it, regardless of whether or not it's sort of sensical. Sometimes the feeling overrides the logic.
Yes, but I will say that I love David Gordon Green, I think that maybe you're giving him too much praise because you're saying that he's deciding when to cue the music. And I do not believe that he had the authority to do such.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that he probably worked in correlation with, but I think that it's probably the music editor's job to do.
You're right. I should talk
composer.
about just the film, right, rather than maybe
I don't know
absolutely. If I'm attributing it to him appropriately, but
no, absolutely talk about all those things. It's just when you say that it was David Gordon Green's decision, I don't think that that's necessarily wholly true. Because there is a music editor, there is a composer.
Yeah.
And I know that he did assist in the theme, the new theme. But I don't know that he would... I would assume that he worked at least with the music composer and
Carpenter.
The editor.
Yeah, he did it again. Yeah. Fair enough.
But I mean, like...
I shouldn't heap all the praise on him. Other people... They're doing work.
Yeah, but I mean, like, where it's placed in the film, I don't think that he made all those choices. Yeah. I think that that's someone else as well with him.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Credit where it's due.
Yeah.
You're standing up for those guys.
The
below-the-line guys. You're like, damn it, they did something.
Or don't give David too much praise. I love the guy, but don't give him credit for things that he wouldn't want credit for.
Yeah. But yeah, I did like the music, as you already noted. We get more guitar in this one than we do in the 1978 version.
Yes, much more.
Yeah, and I listened to the soundtrack just once this week. There's one track in particular. It's just called Michael Kills Again. I don't know. I don't remember which scene in particular it comes on. It might be when the kid gets impaled.
All of them when he kills again?
Probably. I think it's when he gets impaled, when he impales the kid on the fence.
But when he's killing the kid who is later impaled on the fence. We don't see that act.
Yeah. You get that same piano riff, and then that big sort of drone kind of metal guitar comes in, just one big strum, which to me really fits with the look of Michael. Like, he kind of has this industrial kind of look with the jumpsuit, and this is kind of like an industrial Nine Inch Nails almost kind of metal-ish guitar. And it's funny that he has a knife, because the hammer seems very appropriate to me with that whole industrial aesthetic. Whenever that moment came and that guitar came in, I was like, I just think this is a really nice pairing of sound and image. I'm like, he needs to be in like the most terrifying metal band that you could think of, and he would fit right in.
The thing is, they couldn't play to crowds.
Definitely not.
And they probably need to play in separate cells.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like the updated score. I thought it just fits nicely with his look, and it's a really clear continuation of what the original sounded like, while sort of innovating on top of it. Yeah.
I think it was good. I didn't particularly respond strongly to it. I was not detracted by it, and once again, that's the mark of a good score for me.
Yeah.
If it does not overwhelm in a negative way, or sometimes even in a positive way. There's really quite a few scores that I can think of that overwhelm in a bad way, and kind of a few that you'd limit to perhaps some of the best composers of all time that I can think of off the top of my head, which would be like a Johann Johansson or a Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know that I would agree. It's not in those leagues by any means, but I think it accentuated certain sequences for me enough that I was, having fun.
Or didn't undercut them.
Absolutely.
Which is, something that a score can accidentally do constantly.
So. Oh, yeah. I agree. But yeah, I mean, it's one that I would, I don't think people need to rush out and to see it, but I had fun with it.
I think it's worth a red box.
Yeah.
Don't know that I'd urge you to see it if you're paying for your theater experiences, but if you've got AMC A-List, give it a go. If you are still one of the 2 Movie Pass subscribers and it becomes an available title
5 weeks from now,
give it a go. If it's at a theater near you. Otherwise, I don't, if you miss this one, you're not missing much. You could go catch up with Night of the Living Dead and be much better off. And I did not like that movie very much, and I still think it's a much better movie than this one.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way it's a little, I don't know, I'm trying to think about what other horror movies are playing right now ahead of Halloween. If you're looking for a scary movie, what would you tell people?
Oath with Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany Haddish. No. Yeah. It's not a scary movie at all. Yeah, what are going to be scary movies that are out in time?
If you were to recommend something in theaters over this, I don't know that there is anything anyways. Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's
kind of weird.
Quite weird that we already had The Nun come out. We've already gone through all those. We don't get Happy Death Day 2 until Valentine's Day, if I remember correctly.
I think this can make a killing just because there's no competition, regardless of whether people like it or not.
That is bizarre.
Right? Usually there's at least a couple.
I would say go see Venom instead.
Yeah, that's fair. Might even be a little cheaper now.
Yeah. I would say go see First Man instead. You want to be horrified by your emotions?
Oh.
Do you want to be shattered by Karen?
What's more horrifying than grief?
And Claire Foy when she's mad at you.
There you go. All right. Cheers. Another one in the bag.
Let's get to the Deuce.
Look at you.
Look at you. Look at us.
Bound for glory. Who would have thought, right?
The Deuce.
La Deuce.
Season 2 of HBO's show The Deuce, starring Maggie Gyllenhaal, James Franco. Who else?
James Franco.
Dual roles.
I don't know the names of the other ones, but I know that one of our kind of pornographer producer characters is one of the communists of my much beloved Hail Caesar.
Yeah. I do remember that. Yep. I like him. Lost weight.
We have Method Man as one of the peons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we've got a bunch of really strong femme fatale characters who I just don't know the names of them as actresses. I think one might be Deborah Winger. I could be incorrect on that. But there are a lot of really strong performers.
Totally.
But no one is as talented as the set designers and the art decorators or art directors.
That is maybe the strongest appeal of this show to me, is just its sense of time and place.
Did you see that kind of I guess the only way I can think to recall it is this deaf styled movie that kind of goes to the 1970s last year. It's this children's movie.
Oh yeah, Wonderstruck.
Wonderstruck.
Yeah.
Did you see that film by chance?
I like that movie.
When I watch The Deuce, it makes me think of that movie because of how strong this 1970s set design is.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a nice comparison. I like that.
Absolutely apt, right? Sex and pornography and children's story.
Yeah. It is weird how sort of inviting this world is because of how detailed and fully realized it is, considering how sort of fraught it is at the same time. But I am just very, very drawn into the world.
Yes.
And never doubt anything about the locations and where people are and what they're doing.
I kind of do. Like when James Franco's just walking past people on the street and they're not turning their heads going, holy shit, he's a beautiful man. I'm like,
questionable.
That's James Franco, guys. Look at him.
Yeah.
It's James Franco.
It's a good looking dude. So yeah, you watched this morning, correct?
I did. Well,
it's fresh in your mind.
I guess it's all technically this morning.
Yeah. It's extra fresh in your mind. Where we're talking about episodes 1 and 2,
which are called Our Raison d'être, and there's an art to this.
Love it. I really enjoyed both these episodes. I particularly loved the intro to episode 1, where we get that long tracking shot of Maggie Gyllenhaal walking into the club at the start of Raison d'être. To me, it was very reminiscent of the intro to Boogie Nights, which I think would be kind of fun to rewatch at some point during this season. Not that I'll necessarily get to it, but I think they both start in 1977. So Boogie Nights gives us a look into the porn industry on the West Coast. The Deuce giving us a look into the porn industry on the East Coast, same year. And they both start out with these kind of long tracking shots that introduce you to all these different characters. That to me sort of gives it this feeling of a sort of dysfunctional family, which is not to overstate like how close some of these characters are. Like some of these relationships are quite fraught, to use that word again, but I think I immediately got the sense that these are all people who can't live with each other or can't live without each other. So I was in very quickly.
Yeah, I get the sense that New York City can't live without these people or with
yeah,
well.
the city itself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So just to be the same totally differently, I feel the opposite. Like the most powerful scene is at the very, very end.
Love it.
When I believe that this is the very last scene when we see Maggie's character cutting the porn film while James Franco is having intercourse, I believe, with Deborah Winger's character.
Yeah. Deborah Winger's character, she's the young girl, the bartender, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Gotcha.
I think that I'm saying that correctly, but either way, it's the love interest of James Franco's good character. Yeah. Because he's playing twins. And they're having intercourse at the end, and before this scene, we've kind of had this confrontation with the socialist from Hail Caesar. In which Maggie is told that she can't have her porn film cut very much like an art film. And she's explaining that this is what it's like when a woman orgasms. He's like, okay, but that's not who pays. And then she's going back and she's watching, cutting, and editing while we're cutting back and forth between James Franco and Deborah having intercourse. And it was like this meta.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
That I really, really enjoyed the effect of.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about the ending because I was thinking about the beginning. That's awesome. It's a pretty simple episode. It's just James Franco looking for James Franco. Yeah, I know I think it's Frank and Vincent even after a whole season, I still can't keep the names straight between the two Francos.
If there was only one HBO series per year, I could keep up. But
yeah,
there's
names
HBO,
are tough.
Starz, Showtime, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu.
Complicates
and then
things.
There's FX, and there's this is NBC. There's The Good Place. You know, what am I gonna do?
Yeah. To me, it's one
Paramount
of those episodes.
Network.
Yeah, they add up. It's one of those episodes where it'd be easy to say, well, not much happens, because like narratively, it is just James Franco looking for his brother, but it just feels very full of life.
I think it establishes very much the tone and the metaphors that we're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I think about 1/3 of the way through this episode, I began to pick up on what I think maybe the strongest conversation they're going to have this season is the relationship of pimp to whore and agent to star.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, I wish I could remember certain characters' names, but there is the one particular woman who's at the end of episode 2 perhaps trying to abandon her pimp in favor of an agent.
Yes.
And I think those shifting power dynamics will be very interesting, because I don't think many of these pimps are going to take it very well.
I don't either, but it's also interesting that the pimps, one of the pimps specifically, we don't know if this will happen yet because we haven't seen episode 3, has entertained the thought and had a conversation about becoming talent himself.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I'm curious about whether or not he'll actually go through with it.
I feel like they have to, because this is part of I think porn culture in the late 70s, early 80s is this shifting dynamic to figuring out all these different genres that you can make money on.
Yeah.
And right now she's figuring out how to tell a story with pornography.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the power dynamics are part of what makes it pretty interesting between the pimps, the prostitutes, the cops, the mob, and the Francos who are just trying to make a living. All these people seem to sort of just make this ecosystem.
Right, but then there's this other interesting trickle down, which is like, without the mafia, there is no James Franco being successful. Without James Franco being successful, Deborah Winger's character doesn't have stability, so she can't bring about change.
Yeah.
And she's bringing about all this social change for the betterment of women.
Yeah.
But she can't do any of that without the mafia backing her husband, which is just this insane and very deeply cool visual storytelling thing that they're doing about reality, and how, like, okay, the mafia might be terrible, but look at the good thing. Like, do you want to get rid of the good thing?
Yeah.
Just to get rid of the mafia? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know if I do. Like, I don't know if getting rid of the mafia is a better thing to do if you're getting rid of the change that she's bringing about, and she's helping some of these prostitutes learn how to read.
Yeah.
One of these main characters who I really, really enjoy, she's just a really strong presence, just got her GED.
Yeah.
And she's reading, I believe, the Song of Solomon. Is that correct?
I don't remember.
I think she's reading the Song of Solomon, which is kind of this like biographic story from this female author who I don't recall the name of for some reason at the moment. But it's this really fascinating tale that I would equate to being just as important as To Kill a Mockingbird or The Great Gatsby, except for it's kind of more of an African American story.
Yeah.
And it's huge. Yeah. It's just this enormous biography. And the fact that she's reading like one of the most complicated, deep works of art, you'd compare it to something like The Fountainhead or Ulysses or Moby Dick,
And she was reading it on a porn set.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like, I'm going to go take college classes at night if I can. Yeah. Why? You want to get your degree? No, I just want to learn.
Yeah.
Great moment. Great line.
Her growth has been very satisfying.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like she's going to become an agent, maybe.
Oh, you think so? She could be running things?
I feel like she could.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to remember the specifics of episode 2. Was there sort of a driving force? I'm trying to refresh my memory.
It is kind of... So, it's the follow-up to the fact that he never found his brother in episode 1.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he gets married.
His brother has gotten married, and the money that he stole is now on his wife's finger.
Yeah,
as a ring.
Yep.
And then James Franco leaves the bar in the hands of, I believe, Mike, who is his bouncer, instead of in the hands of his brother. And Mike runs the bar extremely well.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of this great moment where we see him ascending to possibly a better position of power.
Yeah.
Which allows James Franco's good character to perhaps have more leniency in his ability to be more places at once, which will be interesting to see transition throughout the show. And then him and Deborah Winger's character go to his home, and they kind of have this really beautiful, loving moment. And then they leave all of a sudden for... a birthday, or not birthday, a baby shower.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we kind of proceed to it being over, and all of a sudden the bar is super busy and it's the next night, and she gets this phone call after he gets a phone call, and he has to leave because the businesses are in jeopardy, and so the way that she can bring about change is in jeopardy. And then she gets a phone call while he's still trying to talk to her before he leaves the bar. She goes, something came up, have to leave. And it's like this classic transition of she's got a separate love interest.
Yeah.
But then we cut to this basement, or she kind of walks in, but we basically end up in this basement of a Catholic church.
Yeah.
Where she's sharing a super long, loving stare with another woman.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah, so she was in season 1, I believe, right? Yeah. She was, I forget which pimp she was aligned with or attached to. But she seems to have broken out of prostitution.
Or perhaps she's trying to better it.
Yeah. Or just to help the girls who feel forced to resort to it.
Or the girls who come to it because they want to, and there's so many, as we see. And that's another part of episode 2. We see the classic thing from the first season, where someone comes in off the train or off the buses, and a pimp's there trying to convince her to work for him.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I already got a job lined up. Can you give me directions?
Yeah.
And he's like,
exactly.
Or he doesn't understand exactly. And he's like, I give you direction. You're going to be good. I can already tell. And she's like, I'll just go this way.
Quite the salesman.
Yeah. It was a fascinating moment. And then we kind of get more conversation about how there's all these women pouring in.
Yeah.
And how there's all these jobs in competition. And I think that one of the prostitutes says to Maggie Gyllenhaal, all these girls are coming in and they don't even know what it's like to whore.
Yeah. Again, it's a weird show in how it sort of is inviting and sort of distancing at the same time. Like, you don't really want to be a part of this, but there's just something sort of about this environment and how believable it is that kind of draws you in.
Yeah, you don't want to be complicit, but it's like it's going to keep going whether you're there or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather be there.
Yeah. I kept kind of thinking during episode 2 about just what sex means to some of these people because of some of the conversations they're having. There's that scene where Maggie Gyllenhaal's talking to her son at the diner, and he's talking about a girl he likes in his class. Not talking about sex specifically, but he's talking about sort of a young love, for lack of a better word. And then James Franco goes to like Coney Island with his girlfriend, and he's talking about having been beneath the pier with girls when he was a kid. Something just about like what kind of sex and young love and love period sort of means to these people in the sex industry. I don't know that I have an answer for that, but I found something kind of running through that episode about that. Yeah, I don't know that I have any conclusion, but that sort of piqued my interest.
That's it. So the general sense I got was that James Franco wasn't in love with those girls he was under the pier with.
I think I agree.
And I don't think that I don't think Maggie Gyllenhaal's son was in love with the girl.
Yeah.
Specifically what's happening is that he has a crush on this girl, and that his friend also does have a crush on her. But she doesn't like his friend. She likes him. Yeah. And he's asking his mom what to do. And she basically says, what's more important to you? your ability to go out with this girl or your relationship with your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that there is something happening there, but I don't know that it's a conversation about love in that way. Because I feel like the love is what Deborah Winger and James Franco are doing, which is by talking about the truth of their past with openness, forgiveness, understanding, and kind of unconditional love. Yeah. In which he says, I used to take girls down there, and she says, I used to have boys in the boathouse. I think I would have had a lot more fun here. Yeah, yeah. And that he kind of pulls her in closer and kisses her on the top of her head and kind of physically and visually loves her more. Yeah, because of her honesty. I think that
it's a very romantic walk.
There is like a conversation happening. I also don't know how to put it, and I feel like I came at the conversation or the authorial voice of this episode about love differently, but I arrive kind of on the other edge of this central conversation, and it's really weird that we can't feel out what's in the cesspool of love that they're trying to talk about.
Which is nice. Like it's just enough to kind of get you thinking, right, about what relationships mean to people, what intimacy means to these people in this particular environment, and in light of what they do for a living, in a way that's very sincere and not just provocative. You know, I think this very, very easily could have been just titillating, and I never felt that way.
I think that it has moments where it's titillating, but I think that it has such a deep gravitas to its conversations about social economics that the titillating moments are kind of undercut with humor, so it all works. Yeah, you know, like anytime it tries to, or anytime it's feigning titillation, it ends up with a patron after the plexiglass has been taken out with his hands stuck because of that was funny. The wall came back down and the button didn't work. Yeah.
It's great stuff. I feel like season 1 was a little more bleak than these first 2 episodes feel to me, tonally. But only to bring up Boogie Nights one more time, and then I'll stop with that connection. When I think about Boogie Nights, it's
probably a good connection. I just don't think about it very much. So you're, if anything, helping me. I'm not against it.
Yeah. With this season starting at the same year that movie starts, and that movie's turning point being the 80s, when VHS comes and the golden age of Hollywood, or golden age of porn, comes crashing down, given sort of this leap in time that we took from season 1 to season 2, it does sort of leave me cautious about how long this good moment can last until sort of this golden age comes crashing down.
Well, at the most, it'll be until the very end of episode 9, which is the last episode of the season, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking long term. Yeah.
No. So are you aware of the news that broke? I think last week that the Deuce will only have one more season. That's the final season.
Oh, don't tell me that.
And I believe that the article also indicated it would be a between a 6 to 10 year jump.
Yeah.
So we will see kind of the coalescence of all this. I think that basically they just got to a point where James is negatively in the news too much for them to continue with the show as it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's interesting in light of the fact that there's only 3. Maybe this is the crest of this movement, and season 3 is going to be the downturn.
But what's interesting is that season 3 could also be like the true ascension of women's independence.
Yeah.
Meaning the pimps begin to finally disappear, but with the pimps disappearing, so too does the wealth that was trickling down to them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, interesting system.
And I imagine that what will also happen is that there will be more sheetrock and more cranes.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
quote that character.
Yeah, I agree. Excited to see where it goes.
What do you think about that kind of underlying narrative of the this extra character who's trying to interact with our one good detective who actually does his job and isn't in on the take?
What's the extra character you're thinking of?
The fellow who hands the detective who's investigating a murder his card. when he's going into the murder scene.
He's like, is he FBI?
No, he's like an independent business character that's there for the welfare of New York City.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. He's concerned about what this will do for tourism.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, he's concerned about what it'll do for New York income, I'll say.
Via tourism, right?
I don't think that it's exclusively tourism. I think that it's about all avenues of wealth. And I think that we will see all avenues of wealth.
Yeah.
That he's interested in.
Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't put much thought into it, but I could absolutely see that becoming an even stronger force amongst all these power dynamics when we see like local government playing a stronger role in just saying we have to clean this up. We're not willing to turn a blind eye and just let this get pushed indoors. We're saying we're done with this. That could put a pretty swift ending to things.
Well, what I'm thinking...
That's ultimately what happened.
What I'm thinking, though, is that if you take the tone of this story with the mafia kind of running the streets where all the crime is, because the crime is delegated to streets, right? Like right now, New York isn't too different than Detroit at this point in time. Now, what's different about New York and Detroit now is all the wealth that was put into raising large buildings with large amounts of sheetrock with large amounts of people. I don't necessarily think that crime lessened in New York so much as crime became more privatized to rooms.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I'm wondering is if this is going to show us how landowners and property owners end up filling in this spot of the mafia, and the mafia begins to disappear because someone's operating at a larger level of wealth, doing what the mafia is doing already.
They kind of get squeezed out.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I kind of hope it does that, because that's interesting.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the tone that it's going for, because that's the line that he says is the only thing that that will truly lessen crime is more sheetrock and more cranes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which literally means just getting crime off the streets, which is classically
behind walls.
The way to solve crime. You get it off the streets, and all of a sudden, at least you're limiting how many people the crime affects.
Yeah. It's kind of the broken windows idea, right? Build buildings, keep them clean, keep them appealing, and interesting stuff. I'm excited to see where it goes.
You're making me think about that Charlie Chaplin short film. I think it's The Tramp. Or maybe it's
He's the Tramp.
No, it's the kid.
The kid, yeah.
Yeah, where the kid goes and throws the rock through the glass.
Oh, yeah.
And then Charlie Chaplin walks up and I got a window for you.
Oh, do you need a fix? It's hilarious. Smart businessman.
It is.
That Tramp.
I'm excited for episode 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. We've got quite a few that we're going to be watching before the next recordings we do. We'll be doing a double batch.
That's right.
Next episode, we will be skipping any Deuce coverage for 1 week, and then we'll be right back on it.
Yeah,
just so the listeners know. I guess, what do you think is going... Just kind of like what we did with Sharp Objects. I think that we should probably do this whenever we watch an entire series and kind of discuss it.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to have happened by episode 9? Just based on what you know now.
The thought that I have put into about where this is going to go has centered mostly around Maggie Gyllenhaal's character and her sort of budding career as a filmmaker. That's sort of what I have been most interested in and excited by. I very much feel the passion she has for trying to make something that transcends the luridness of the porn industry. So I see that narrative continuing, and I think at this time feel that she will succeed, and I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, perhaps. It's hard because there's so many characters to kind of think about where they're all going to go, but I think talking about what you just brought up about the individual concerned about what this is going to do for New York City and tourism and income for the city, I think that's a totally plausible direction for this to become something about the city putting pressure on all these individual forces that we've seen at play so far. What do you got? I kind of took yours.
Well, that's not really the whole scope, because I think that's going to play out through season 3 as well.
Yeah,
now that I know that that's when it ends, I think that we'll see a true capitalization there. But I'm sure that'll come with episode 9 as well. But I think that I get the general sense that we're going to see some pimps murked. Maybe some prostitutes as well. Maybe some prostitutes will do some of the murking. I don't know. I think a lot of bodies might hit the floor by episode 9.
Yeah.
Especially with the way that the mafia begins talking. I also think that we're going to see some gay bashing coming.
Yeah.
Judging by what happens in episode 2, which is very disconcerting but very accurate historically.
Yeah.
I also think we might see some gays, or I would think we might see the gay community going back and maybe killing some mafia or mafiosos, which I will also enjoy quite a bit, I think, to be honest, because
we haven't really talked about them.
That nightclub and nightlife of the gay club is some of the funnest in the in the show. I think Maggie will ascend to being a successful director, and I think she will also become a producer. And I think she will likely be funded by someone from LA. And I think that's maybe coming with these awards that's happening at the moment. I think that we're going to see some of the prostitutes segue out of New York unceremoniously into LA.
Yeah, sort of this East Coast, West Coast shift is going to be interesting.
And I think there's a strong possibility that they write out or kill one of the Franco characters.
Ooh, don't do it.
Well, I think that that's maybe what they have to do. That's how I'll put it. To appease the producers that are worried about James Franco being in the show.
Yeah. Perhaps a season 3 without Franco? Think that could be?
I wouldn't be surprised if they killed both of the characters at the moment. I think that it's written in a way where Deborah could take over kind of the narrative role of James's good character, and we wouldn't. And if the skyscraper plot takes out the mafia and this nightclub, we don't need this nightclub anymore necessarily. We don't need the Deuce, quote unquote, in the same way that we do. And perhaps we could even see the fellow who's always running the breakfast restaurant, come over and take over that bar, even. Which I wouldn't be surprised by. Or we could see Mike ascend into that role. I think that there's a lot of things in play where it seems like James might be gone, which is really disappointing, but I also feel like James needs to go make his own art. It's about, this show is about so many things, and there's so few things on the air that are like it. That to overreact and kill off these characters, if they did, is very disappointing.
Who knows? Maybe he'll make it to the end. We'll just have to see. TBD. That's a wrap. Cheers.
Run! Go! Get to the chopper!
We have to go.
I'm coming with you.
That was brilliant.